And we are live from the virtual studio of Helene Gross. I'm here interviewing Dottie Laster. She is the female hero, in my opinion, because she has done so many things that many men would not even have dared go in and do. I just have to tell you this, okay? She has been rescuing human trafficking victims for the last 17 years. And she has triggered the largest rescue of human trafficked victims in American history in 2005. So she's been doing this for a while, my dears. Welcome, Dottie Laster.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
I feel that you are needed to, your voice, because of your experience, is really needed here in these days, because you know a lot about what has been going on, and we appreciate all the work that you've done.
Well, thank you. And I feel it is, for many reasons, maybe one, just saying this happens. The human trafficking of adults and children of all ages. I've had infant cases. I've had women pregnant. So prior to birth, all the way up to well into, 70 or so. So there isn't any person that can say, well, that's not going to happen to my loved one. Everybody's on the table.
Yes. And the difficult part is that it is so much in plain sight that we many times don't see it.
It is. It's not like it's depicted in movies that we think of, where there's some, dungeon with a chain and a ball, that there's some lock and bars. In fact, a lot of the images used to talk about slavery use locks and keys and bars, and the truth is that's real misleading. I've had one or two maybe that were kidnapped and thrown in a van and duct taped, and the things that you think about when you think of trafficking. Most, however, were leaving what appeared to be willing wherever they were last seen, and they may have even had phones and been walking around and the appearance of freedom, but they were more held than that lock and key and chain. Because if you're just thrown in a room and locked in, all you got to do is get out. I mean, it may be hard, but it's that simple. But if you've been coerced, groomed, lured, threatened, your family at risk, you can walk into a police station with everyone there willing to protect you, and you're not free. So that mental coercion is more forceful than a lock and a key and a gun to your head.
And that is what has been happening a lot. We see, as you say, they're walking in daylight and people don't recognize it. People can't help them, and they really feel victimized, and they feel nobody understands them. And many times they also end up in jail, and it wasn't their fault.
I always joke, and it's not a happy joke, but it's a joke to try to get audiences to understand when I'm speaking. I say I spend most of my day getting victims out of jail, and that is absolutely true. And I mean out of jail over and over, or I mean from charges of bank robbery we've seen in the news, murder, prostitution, shoplifting, anything a bad guy can use that victim as a tool for, yeah, they will. And so the victim is the one left that gets arrested. It doesn't have to be that way, but it is right now mostly.
So what would you say is happening since, I mean, you've been working with this for over 17 years. And since COVID came in, what happened?
It is a miracle. My phone has stopped ringing, and that's a good thing. Prior to COVID, would get calls every day, Sunday, Christmas, any holiday, all day long. Like, I might have 3 to 10 cases at one time all together, like all still working. Since about the first week of March, I've had a couple of calls that were easily resolved and nothing, and I dare say it, no trafficking since the first week of March. In 17 years, that has never happened. Like, I was in the hospital 3 years ago after surgery, answering my phone, not because I was, silly about that, but because that's how many people were desperately trying to save their kids. And I was coming out of anesthesia, answering my phone. And from that to this past time period of silence, oh my gosh, I'll stay home as long as it takes. If that's what we're doing, let's do it.
So I have a question for you, and that is, you and I, we worked together briefly. I've worked with some of Dottie's cases briefly, and I would say that it woke me up. But for all of you that do not believe in this or cannot even believe that this exists, this is the prime example of how it has been going on for not just the last 17 years when Dottie has been working with it. It's been going on since the Mayans. But okay, that's a completely different story. We're just going to focus on what is going on here in this time, during the time that you have been. But I would like to ask you, and that is, how are we going to open up people's ability to actually take it in, that this has been going on for such a long time, that their children have been in such a risk zone and still are if they are on any kind of tablets? How are we going to, but that's one of the questions, okay? Remember that question. But the next question is, what has been going on for the last, since our president came through and came in? What happened to the whole traffic situation?
Well, for the first question, how are we going to wake the adults? And I came to this issue as a parent. My kids were in high school before, I turned into who I am now. And I was lucky because I didn't know, and the internet wasn't anything. My kids are in their 30s. So I feel like I skated by on being a parent. If I'd have been 5 years later having kids, it would have been a whole different ball game. So in 2007, we got these things called smartphones and smart devices. And of course, as all bad guys do, they're first to figure out how to use it. And that's why I'm still happy saying it's a miracle, but floored with all these kids not at school, now going to school online. I expected we would have a huge increase in demand for my help. And that still could happen. I hope it doesn't. But every time a child is online, they are targeted. Don't think they're not. It's not if they'll be targeted, but how many times. And which time do they simply write back and say hi? That's all the bad guy needs. Any response at all. And they've groomed 1,000 kids before they've met yours. They will get them. And it's not because your kid's bad, not because you're a bad parent. I help great parents and wonderful kids every day. It's because bad forces are out there using technology to literally have a key to your front door. So how can we alert parents to that? It's kind of funny because we're in this downtime, but I'm a big fan of storytelling and media. Things like what we're doing now, but also fictional stories that are truer. I always say what I do, it's truth that can only be told as fiction. Like I couldn't put everything we do on film, no one would be able to handle it.
No.
But if we could tell it and learn through it, storytelling, music, sharing with each other, this is a great time for us to help each other, and we are.
Yes.
And so those are a few ways that I would start with it.
Okay.
And then go ahead.
No, go ahead.
And then the second question is, since
COVID.
2016, or since COVID, so since 2016, I've seen an increase in prosecutions.
Yes.
Where prior to that, there were literally hundreds throughout the entire United States and the U.S. territories. In fact, in, I want to say somewhere between 2010 2012, I and one other person, we did immigration law. We had like a third of all the T visas in the nation and the U.S. territories, and it wasn't a big number. I mean, I wasn't saying we were doing something really outstanding. We were just doing what we do. And we had a third of the visas in the nation for trafficking, which shows you how small the effort was in those years to find victims. Well, fast forward now, all of a sudden you're seeing prosecutions topple over 1,000 into multiple thousand. It's not tens of thousands yet, but it's into the thousands. Well, then when COVID hit and we're all sitting here at home wondering what's going on, you know me, Helene does, I'm looking around going, what's happening? And I am going, wow, look at the justice.gov site and start looking for prosecutions, press releases, people that they're looking for with bounties on their heads to bring them to justice. And things I never thought I'd see were happening. One example is the former president of Venezuela. A bunch of people around him were arrested, and now there's a $15 million price tag on his head. Well, why is that important to what we do? Drug traffickers and human traffickers are almost always the same people. When you see drug trafficking, human trafficking's right there with it.
Yeah.
And so those were drug trafficking charges. They started seizing assets. They tore down the middle part of his empire, his structure, his gang. I don't know what you want to call them, bad people. And they ripped that out and left him at the top dangling, and now they're looking for him. Well, that had such a large effect that in South Florida, he was affecting, through him and his cronies, according to the U.S. Attorney in that area, he was driving the price of real estate up so high that people that worked there couldn't get into the major city. So it's not just the victims, which are many. It's not just the drugs, which are horrible and destructive, but it has an effect like a ripple in a pond throughout the community.
Yeah.
In addition to that, they announced that they had arrested somewhere between 600 and 700 members of a global cartel out of Mexico. And I read it, I just rolled over laughing because I have dealt with them so much. And you know, at the level I'm doing, I can save a victim. I maybe get the bad guy near her arrested, or, you know, he does it himself. I just provide a little information to the right place. But, you know, I was always saying there's this ceiling I could never penetrate. And it's like, I would describe it as I'm on the Titanic. I'm sitting up at the front going, watch out for the ice. And the band's playing on, and I'm trying to poke holes with my fingers. That's literally what it felt like for 17 years. Yeah. And I saw these big indictments, and I got a little hopeful. And then I heard an announcement on the news, the president speaking, saying he was closing down all the trafficker routes by sea, air, the borders. I went, that's a great idea. You know, I'm always thinking about trafficking, and you can't get in, you can't get out. Then that money stops flowing, victims start flowing, drugs stop flowing. All of a sudden, there's a halt. Never in my wildest dream, though, did I realize the halt would actually be so profound that I'm not being called for help. That is amazing.
Yeah, and that is the thing that I want to get to next. You and I were looking down in those rabbit holes, and I remember one day, I think I called you or you called me, and I was in tears because I was like, Dottie, do you know what you were up against all these years? Do you understand? Because I know you understand, but I had to like get my footing because I was like, I can't imagine this huge, massive monster that was infiltrated in every single part of life. And it took, and it takes, still, it's still happening. It's taken the American military worldwide to combat this. And here was Dottie, the big warrior from Texas. And I always wonder, if you had known how much was it you were going against, would you have continued?
It's a great question because people would ask me, aren't you scared? Are you worried? Do people try to kill you? And my answer always to myself and to whoever asked me was, if I'm scared, how should that victim feel?
Yeah.
And that kid, adult or kid, that person, that child of somebody's is just as precious as my beloved daughter.
Yeah.
So I never factored in. I mean, I'm aware of it. I'm not dumb or anything, but I didn't factor or let that factor in to my decisions. Should have, probably, smart thing to do. But I just felt like if I stopped to do that, they would win.
Yeah.
And so I didn't. But yes, I remember that phone call. And when you were talking to me, I know what you were saying because I felt that monster. I couldn't tell you who it was, individually, but it was like a cloud bake over everything. And I would get stopped in the most bizarre ways. I would get threatened, not in just like, oh, we're gonna walk up and again. I mean, I could defend if someone's gonna walk up and again and shoot me. It's not like that. It's more like, well, I worked a short time for other people or the DOJ grants, which I don't work well for other people, but I would get threatened that way, like for my job. But then there would be a subtle threat outside of work or at a speech or my phone ringing funny. There were just all these ways. And
Yeah.
I know, I mean, a couple of times they tried to set up accidents or muggings or, pick your list. It would have always looked like something that was an accident. But
You had the help from the above.
I did, because I got out of it every time. And
Yeah.
I didn't count them, but, this is more than a couple. And I got out of it every time. I felt it coming. Especially some of the last ones. I didn't feel it right away. But then all of a sudden I felt I was being hunted, and that's exactly what it felt like, just my body. I think like animals that are out in the wild, you try to take their picture and they flee because they feel you looking.
Yeah.
It's not that they can see you, they feel you. And I developed over that many years some sort of intuition that kept me safe. I remember many years ago, I was sitting in a crowded area and I was just working on my computer, just kind of in another world. And all of a sudden, I just had this image in my head of a rabbit and I was being hunted. And I looked to my left and I looked to my right, and there was someone on my left that I knew was a trained killer, and someone to my right was filming me. And I thought they were there for the victim. Well, later I found out they had always known where she was. They were there to stop me from getting her to authorities, which they didn't. But I think the deal is they were going to set up a mugging or a car wreck. But again, through forces I can't explain, I got out of it fine. And somebody I hadn't spoken to in 3 years called me, and she had the person that could protect me and get me out of that city. So to answer your question, yeah, I did know there was threats. I just wouldn't allow them to change what I do. I think if I'd have been scared, they would have pounced on me quicker.
Yeah.
They would have felt.
And I look at it with the things that you have done, and with a little. I came in here in the backside here the last couple of years, but with the things that you have done, you've had to use a weapon, a secret weapon that we all have, because you can always go down into fear, but you use love.
Love is my weapon. And, I didn't know that going in, but I know that coming out. Love is not vulnerability. Sometimes it is, but in the way I've used it, it's not a vulnerable state. It's a powerful state. It's what got me out of that place where I was being targeted. It's what got that victim to a place where I could get her to help. So I always say I'm as good as the parent I have to work with, and I take their love for their child and I weaponize it. And we can go through some of the list of how I do that, very real things you can do. But if I don't have enough of that, which most often I do, but let's say for whatever reason we have a kid that doesn't have a strong parent working with me, I take the love from my daughter
Yeah.
who I love beyond all measure. And I just power myself with that, saying, if it was her,
What
would
would I?
I stop?
Yeah.
Would I take a nap? Would I say I can't do it? Would I give up? Would I find one more miracle I pull out of nowhere? And that's what I power myself with, is that love for my daughter, my son too. We
Yeah.
tease him, we like the girl, but I have a son, and in all honesty, I take the power of the love for my children, and I believe the love that my mom, who's passed away, absolutely, her love is still with me.
Yeah.
And when I need to fight, she's there on my shoulder, probably working my mouth. Sometimes I hear her words come out of my mouth.
Yeah. I can see that too. I can see that happens with you a lot, and she's there. And so that is the power, guys. We do have the power of love, and it is not vulnerable. And now when we women, we wake up and we stand up to who we are and stand up in our power, we become so much more powerful. I just want to go back a little bit to the things that we started talking about, but I'd like to say something about the women that have always had the power and that are getting it back and are opening up to it. I also want to say to the men, we just have to take back ourselves. Do not take it as a threat. I know you do, but do not take it as a threat, because we can stand side by side. It's not like we are having to, we can all stand in our power, the male and the female. I'm not, dissing any of them, because we need each other. But when the women's come up, like Dottie does, when we come up into our power, what happens is that we use that overall, the way we can see things, we see it on an overall perspective, not a compartmentalized spectrum. We're looking in the wholeness, and if it doesn't feel right, it's not. And that, I know, many times has been the reason why you like, it doesn't feel right, Helene. We're on the call, we're calling with each other, and you're saying this doesn't feel right. What do you see? What do you see? And you feel, and then I'll come in from another perspective, see it from a different perspective. So it's like, we open up to our network, but in ourselves, if it doesn't feel right, it's not. Doesn't matter what anybody says. If it just doesn't, so many times, I think that our intuition, our love, our hearts, but our intuition working together is the superpower.
It is. And so many times victims and their parents, especially their mothers, it breaks my heart when they'll say, I knew I didn't like that guy, or I knew something wasn't right, but I was timid. They don't say timid, but they say I didn't speak up. You have to. If your gut is telling you it's not right, listen by all means. Don't come back later and say, I felt it, but I didn't act on it. Because I tell parents, especially a mom with a missing kid, do not let anyone tell you you are not the expert on your child. You are, you always will be.
Yeah.
I mean, even moms that maybe aren't great at mothering, they still carry that kid, they know.
Yeah.
And so many times they dismiss their feelings, their guts, even if their child's not with them and they feel something's wrong. You need to check, because I hear that every day.
Yeah.
I felt something, but I didn't act on it. And boy, could they have saved themselves so much agony.
Yeah.
And their child, and their bank account, and their future, and everything. We have it for a reason.
Yeah, and so what we have here is, like, Dottie is an expert. You've been an expert in a job you wished you didn't have.
Yes.
We wished we didn't have this what is going on with our children, the way that they are being exploited, and the way that they are being targeted, and especially now through social media and Instagram accounts, and they
Video
are just
games.
reaching out to their friends. That's what they think, but really, who are they reaching out to? It's not a friend on their level, their age. Many times it's a man who's behind this fake account, and parents have a hard time deciphering it, or at least catching it, because not until they start seeing something's wrong. Why is my son or my daughter acting strange? What's going on here?
Yeah, when they start to have changes in behavior, some of the first things you need to do are just pop in on them between 1 and 3 a.m. and see if they're online. Good chance they are. If somebody's chatting with your kid between 1 and 3 a.m., they're not your friend. They're really not, especially weeknight, you know, and you'll be surprised because they use sleep deprivation to get the child off center. And so they'll keep them up talking all night long, especially, you know, they were going to school, but they still have some sort of schedule, I believe, now. So they want to keep interrupting those things. That's why you, as a parent, do not need to parent with privacy. You must check on them. You should also have some access to who's using your router, because I see a lot of times kids will have a phone that their parents didn't know about, or a device. It could even be like an iPod, which you think only music, but that's not the case. You can communicate as well. So the point being is you need to spot check your kids in the middle of the night. You need to look at what devices are accessing your internet through Wi-Fi, because those devices they give them won't have a service, so that because they're not traceable that way, but they'll hijack your Wi-Fi, and then it's the same as if they had a phone. So it's literally give them a key to your front door. You need to put some cameras, put some bells on your door. Don't tell your kids, because there's activity going on you may not know about. So if you find your kid chatting between 1 and 3 a.m., next step I would do is slap up the cameras and put some bells on your doors and windows, so if they open, you can hear them. I
And
wish that was exaggerating, but it's not.
it's not exaggerating. And Dottie, if they were to experience this and they really need your help, are you still there in case?
I am still. I'm getting my website. Sorry, just a second. I am still here. They can access my website at traffickingvictimrescuecentral.org. I think we could put it in the show notes.
Yeah, we will.
I hope and pray I'm not needed anymore.
Yeah.
This time off has been beautiful. It would be naive to think there aren't still going to be traffickers, but it seems like there's been a major disruption.
Yeah.
And so that is what I'm so hoping for.
Yeah, and so am I. But the reason why we're having this information is that many of you are going to be, for the first time, maybe even experiencing what has been going on underneath your feet, literally in caves, tunnels, bases, cities underground. And I have had time to adjust to this. I have dealt with some trafficked victims, but I deal with a lot of emotional people that are very emotionally stressed or have a hard time right now with all that's going around. But I just wanted them to, in case they need to have a place to maybe vent, or maybe there's something that's going on. I mean, I hope that the military and all who are here working to finish this off, to close this down, is going to do that. But I was just, one of the reasons why we bring it up is also because I feel, Dottie, you've done this work for so many years, and now you have a whole American military that's all over the world working together, and you know, I still want people to understand that there are still things that are going to be coming up to the surface. Do not discredit that. This is real. This has really been happening. And the gruesome pictures that you might come across if you go on YouTube and start looking for it, unless it's taken down, because that happens a lot too. This is real. This has been happening for a long, long time. The fact that children have been groomed from look at Hollywood, look at all the children that become drug addicts. Well, many of them have been groomed for sex, slavery, and whatever, and had the carrot of being, you're going to be a movie star, and then having to go through things, and they're giving them drugs, they're doing a whole bunch of stuff. So, I mean, there's going to be a lot of things happening, a lot of revelations coming forward as well. So I just want you to understand that you might be shocked for a little while if you aren't already, There might be some things that will shock you. Take a breather, let it melt, come back, and if you want to go down the rabbit hole, or I am here to speak with you, and Dottie, as a professional, knows, you know, all the things that are going on behind. Now, if you have a child that, you know, maybe has gone into drugs, and sometimes you're not getting the real story. Maybe there has been something going on before the drugs started, and that's the only way this child can cope. And you know who you are, the ones that, so I can't say that I can help in some way, but I know Dottie knows. Maybe I'm just going to give it over to you. I feel that you might know where to send them in case.
Yeah, there's kind of this network of help that someone needs after they've been trafficked. It's not just, you know, a couple of counseling sessions and you're done. And the first stop is to get rid of whoever's trafficking them, which is pretty much my specialty, because you'll see, oh, well, we tried to help her and she just went back, and, you know, and he just keeps going the same direction. Well, that's not entirely true, because the bad guys continue to pursue them well into treatment and therapy and drug rehab, and maybe even once they're recovering and get home, they continue to pursue them because they get all the time in the world, and each victim to them is worth $300,000 to $500,000 minimum per year tax-free money. They're going to put the time in, and a lot of times people don't factor in the opposite side of the equation. So they think it's the victim that's failing, but they don't understand the bad guy never got disconnected. And so we have to help with that every time we can.
Yeah.
Talking about the underground, I've had many cases with tunnels, with babies, with forced abortions and miscarriages for the purpose of rituals. So when you see those things and they sound too crazy to be true, I wish they were. I've worked 2 serial killer cases, and in Houston, I think a serial killer has never been caught, but I had people that were victimized from multiple sides of the city reporting the same man wearing a cape trying to kill them. So 2 and probably 3 serial killer cases that have had direct connection with the victims, with their cases. You would think that's just something for true crime or blah, blah, blah. Oh no, it's not just on the TV screen. It's here. And it affects great families, upper income. I mean, one of the cases we worked on, when I got her identified and located and separated, her family had a private jet pick her up.
Yeah. So
And
it's from all the different levels. It's not.
It's not just
yeah,
for misfortunate kids. I mean, yeah, there's some of those, but that's not it. And so it should terrify everyone. There's no free pass out of this. There's no one that can say it's not going to affect me. Even if you don't have children, you know someone who does. And if you don't have children, perhaps you're a teacher or a psychologist, or somehow you interact with them. And if you can look at this with a bit of knowledge, I mean, in the first few years, I thought, I'm the most unlucky woman in America. Everywhere I turn is another traffic victim. But I'm not. I just could see them.
Yeah.
And once I can see them, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
And to put a scope to it, so I many years ago, I don't know, about 5 years ago, I did a comparison of cost. So how much money does trafficking bring in? How much money does McDonald's, the NBA, National Basketball Association, and the Hollywood film industry bring in? The same, and that's the low number for trafficking. The high number for trafficking eclipses any of those US companies. And how many McDonald's are in your town? More than one, probably.
Yeah.
And all the staff at those McDonald's and all the people that frequent those McDonald's, that's what we're talking about on the low side of just sex trafficking, not even labor. So you can see that there's no way to turn. I mean, you just can't look the other way. This is here. It's happening. I do believe these arrests that we talked about are having an effect. The question is, how much? Is it going to end it, or is it going to disrupt it, or is it going to put a dent in it? I don't know yet. but I'm taking the vacation. I'm taking it.
And you deserve it. I feel you deserve it. You've really done a lot. Is there anything you would like to say is there any last minute thing you would like to say to the viewers?
Yeah, I had two things. One is I promised Ortiz that we would talk about the actual tactics, how I weaponize love. And I think that's something anyone can use for multiple things. It doesn't have to be trafficking. You know, it could be just your everyday life. But first of all, I meet that parent or whoever is advocating for a victim. You know, somebody has to call me, so whoever that is.
Yeah.
And I learn about that person through their loved one. And then I learn about that person online or for friends. You know, I get a list of people I can talk to. And so I've never met this person, but through their loved ones, I learn who they are. Very, very important, because the more I know about that victim, if I get the golden opportunity to get in front of them, that's the weapon I'm going to use to get them out of the grass. When we talked about psychological coercion, I can't just go, "Hi, Dottie, you want to come with me?" Because they're going to go, "No, you're the devil," because they've been groomed and programmed to think this guy who's hurting them is good and anyone who loves them is bad. So you have to understand, without knowledge, I can't walk in there unprepared. So I get the love and the really important information. What does that person love? What's their favorite color? What pet did she most love through her life? Who in her family does she trust and confide in? Who in her family does she argue with? That doesn't mean they don't love each other, but who do they argue with? And I use their words and make kind of a quilt of a plan of how I'm going to approach this victim. The second thing I do, and this is often if someone's missing, not if they're not missing. If we don't know where they are, then I have whoever loves them the most. And I'm not taking straws, but I mean, you know, if it's two people, we put them up there, but I kind of figure out who's going to be the spokesperson. And I say, I need you to make a video holding their flyer and put it on social media. And in that video, I want you to say how much you love your daughter and why you want the public to help you find her. That's my magic weapon. The flyer's there. Everybody can see that. That's just information. The golden nugget that makes that work is that parent's love. And then we ask the public to help find this loved one. The next thing I do is when I find the bad guys, I surround them with love. Now, they don't like it, so they don't see it that way. But if I know where they're operating, I'm going to get flyers up on every place. I'm a wallpaper the city. I'm going to target those social media videos to that geographic location. If I get a chance to talk to them, I'm going to mention this kid is loved and we're not going away. If I get on the news, no matter who's recording me, I say it multiple times. This person is loved and missed. We need your help. And so these are ways that I weaponize love. Now, in addition to that, I talked about using the energy of being a mother or connecting with a mother. That gives me the fuel to work really hard. Now, there's some other things we do that are more investigative. But love, that's how you weaponize it. And then love is the fuel that keeps me up 2 or 3 days with no sleep, that makes me forget to eat until I find that loved one.
Wow.
And when I find them, I hug them if they'll let me. I tell them you are loved. No matter how mad we are at this time, because we're, tired by then. But you can't go up and start yelling at them. You've got to reinforce all the people that love them, people they don't even know. And that melts that grooming away.
So it's psychological, psychologically and emotionally, they are being groomed so that they see the opposite.
Yes,
so
the
grooming, the groomers know how to turn the love of their families against them. The groomers know how to make them feel that their family doesn't want to be with them, that their family doesn't love them, and so on and so forth. So it's a hard thing to go against, and of course the fear of the retaliation if they leave those groomers once they have been caught, right? So it's been, there's a lot of different avenues and a lot of different.
And back to that, not fear. I have to let them know, no matter what this coercion is, you can tell me because
Yeah.
I can fix it.
Yeah.
Now that's a big order. It might be, they're gonna kill my sister in Guatemala. Okay, we're gonna give her a call.
Yeah.
Tell her duck. You know, they're coming. So whatever it is, but I have to make her believe, or him, that whatever that coercion is, I'm not afraid of it.
No.
And then they have to believe me. Like I said in the beginning, I don't show any fear, because if I were afraid, they can't trust that I could handle whatever the big threat is.
No.
And like you were saying, that mental coercion, it is made to disconnect every social tie that they have in the world.
Yeah.
We have to quickly, with no time, with no help, and actually with people hurting us, reconnect those social ties. But our social ties keep us safe.
Yeah.
And that means our families, our sports, our schools, our passions, our hobbies, our artwork, whatever.
Yeah.
That's what they're disconnecting through sleep deprivation, food deprivation, fear, and trauma. And while they're traumatized, they rewrite their history. So I want people to understand the victims aren't dumb. They're not being bad. They have gone through a program that is efficient even on me if it were to be done.
Yeah.
So you can't say, well,
it's very sophisticated. It's
they're
very
just dumb. No,
yeah.
it works.
Yeah.
You just fry sleep and food, and I'm not talking for a few hours. I mean days and weeks.
Yeah.
Think about it. How well do you work? Not well at all.
No.
Even clothes, they'll take away clothes that they're used to wearing and replace them. They'll change the name they call them. Their hair. Oh my gosh. You want to talk about that one and the losing their hair and what it did to her?
Well, we had
There's many.
One beautiful young lady that came to us, and she had really, really thick, dark, long hair, and they just chopped it off completely.
Shaved it, bald.
Completely bald. Yeah, there are a lot of things there, and so they stripped her of her identity, her whole identity, her soul. They took her soul. I mean, I don't know how much I want to say about it. I mean, Dottie, but I just know that she came to me and we worked with her. She came to Dottie first, of course. Dottie is the main, the main person here. But I came here. I come in and work a little bit on the side there. But yeah, I mean, when you hug someone that somebody else has taken the soul out of, it's like hugging. It is so disturbing. It is so disturbing to hug someone that the soul has left almost. I mean, she was still alive, so it was still there, but I mean, she was so programmed and she was so young and so
beautiful. That was the goal. I mean, we were witnessing the ultimate goal that they had, which was to have an alive body without the soul.
Yeah.
And I've witnessed that many times. We would, her being one of the top two extremes, but I would often be able to find victims with no description, like they're in this area, they expect you to come, but I don't know who they are. Dead eyes. I mean, you look at their eyes and they're dead.
Yeah.
And you can find them in a crowd because that's how they look. So as I said, I thought I'm the unlucky person. I keep seeing victims. No, I can just see them. Yeah. And it's not that other people can't see them. It's just once you've witnessed it and experienced it, you can't look away again.
And that's another thing. Once I hugged her, anybody else that I hugged, or my eyes and my ability to see them became so much stronger. I was like, oh my goodness, what did I just experience? I remember that feeling. Because when you hug someone, you get the love back, right? There was, I mean, I'm not saying she didn't have love. It's just that it was torn away from her. It was torn out.
And it's very painful to live in that state. I don't know it myself, but I've witnessed it. And I had another victim that I worked with years ago, and it's one of the few I never was able to free.
Yeah.
And the last time I attempted, I was literally 18 inches from her, and she did not know I was there. She wasn't ignoring me. She didn't know I was there. She was the same, and the only way words can't do it justice, but the only way I could describe it when I went back and tried to tell her family and the bodyguards I was working with, she's like she's in a coma, but instead of being laying flat, her body was able to move and walk. But she, the soul in her brain was not there. And that was one of, I used to sum it up by saying, what I've witnessed when trying to put words to that, the only way I can say it better is it makes a Stephen King novel seem like a comedy. What I saw there, I don't have words to tell you how scary it was. And I know you witnessed it, so you understand that it's hard to describe it. So you must be patient with people that are in this situation. You must be persistent, or have guidance, preferably, because of course the thing you'd want to do is jerk her and throw her in the car. Excuse me, drive away. Yeah, which is exactly what bad guys wanted us to do, and that would have been bad. So it's like a Chinese finger trap. Everything you do, they tighten up. Yeah. And it takes a lot of effort and a good team. Yes. To get them out, and a lot of luck. A lot of luck. Yeah. Okay, so I think that this is pretty descriptive. If you want to know any more, we will put Dottie's website underneath there. You have some information there as well, right, on your website? Yes. Yeah. And we have, if you scroll down, there's some downloadable forms that can help you if you're a parent to know what you need to watch for online. There's a grooming document, so you can see some of the symptoms of grooming. Yeah. And a few other good things, some red flag cards. You can print those out. There's one that's blank. You can even put your organization's name on it and share it. It's there to share and get the word out. Yes. And so, and exactly, and very good. There's a place there you can get more information about this. And I wish that it was not something we needed to do, but we might be in a situation where in these times that that is not going to continue happening. But if you're sitting here and watching it and you have a suspicion, please go onto our website and then, make sure that either or, whatever, and she can definitely answer many of your questions. Okay, I think that we have, on some level, I think I want to finish off with the fact that love is everything. With love, we can do a lot, but with love and knowledge and the tools that Dottie has, we can also really save our children, and that is the most important thing for all mothers and parents and for humanity. Exactly. Thank you so much, Dottie, for all that you have done. I was going to say, if you have been through this, somebody watching, Helene is amazing with her hypnosis to help you put those hurts, not where you don't remember them, they're still there, but where they're not controlling you. And I urge you, because I know there'll be people out there that have been through what we're describing and somehow saved themselves or survived it in a different way. Yeah. If you are still being affected, reach out to Helene. I don't think you'll be sorry at all. In fact, I'm sure I've seen that miracles will happen. So please call her. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you so much for imparting your information to the world and all the love that you have sent to so many of the victims and the families. That I'm sure you get a lot of emails about how you save these families, and that's something that I also get for Christmas. I get a lot of these, oh, now we can go together with our families because now, we're healed, or we're healing, and we're connecting. And so, yeah, thank you so much for that. Dottie, I am so happy that you are on this planet. You're doing you have been doing your deed, because you're strong. It is interesting to see what's going to happen in your future. I just want to mention one thing. If you see that piece of art behind her, it's one of her photographies. So she does a lot of photography too. You maybe want to, and this is art. This is beautiful. So if anybody's interested, connect with her. She has things for sale as well. And what else are you doing? You're doing butter. Better. So this trafficking thing is over, which I'm feeling Maybe. I started making artisan butter. So I love flowers. I'm a gardener, so I have herbs. So I have plain butter and herb butter. And butter is loved. I mean, it's love. And
Yeah.
it's divine because it's one ingredient. It makes two products, buttermilk and butter. And who doesn't love those things? So I'm having the best time. I'm playing in this great commercial kitchen with a good friend who makes cakes. So when I'm not busy, I'm helping her sell wedding and birthday cakes, which is, what is that? Love.
Yes.
So doesn't
Yeah.
have to all be trafficking.
Yeah.
You can use
So,
your love tactics and weapons for other things too.
so the love you can put into the cakes, you can put into the butter, you can put into your art. I believe in expression, that when we have love for anything, a passion for anything, we put our hearts into it and it becomes that much better. I too am an artist, but I work much more on the, not as the realist, but more of a letting your spirit come through me. But yeah,
I love
no,
your art.
thank you so much. And you know, many of us come onto this planet and we don't really know why. We have to go through some issues, difficult childhoods and so on and so forth. It's because to end up on the other side where we're able to have the compassion, we're able to have the love, we're able to have the determination to make things a better world for the rest of the world. That is one of the biggest gifts we can give to humanity, is our hearts, our love. And from the studio here to you guys, I want to send a lot of love, sending a lot of love to Dottie. I think for me, and if you have anything to say, this is your last chance, girl.
I'm gonna giggle
At
out.
least in this program right now.
I'm just gonna giggle. That's how I sign my emails. So, you can take on a powerful force and still laugh and have a great time. So
Yeah.
I send that to all of you. Whatever you're doing, do
Yes,
it with love and you can't go wrong.
I agree. Thank you so much. Love you guys. See you next
Bye.
time.